Hey mathematics learners, welcome to Distance Learning with Lee, where I make learning mathematics super easy. So in today's video tutorial, guys, we are still going through the grade 12 preliminary examination that was written in September 2023, right? And we're looking at the prelim that was written by the Gauteng province learners, okay? In today's video tutorial, guys, we're going to be looking at the whole of question 3. We're going to be looking at question 3.1, we're going to be looking at question 3.2, and we're also going to be looking at question 3.3. Like I mentioned, guys, okay, the grade 12 your prelims, right, especially the ones that are written in 2022 as well as 2023, a huge chunk of your marks come from data handling. So if you really just want to sharpen your skills when it comes to data handling and even preparing for your prelims, you need to ensure that when it comes to data handling, you're on point. When it comes to interpreting, analyzing data that is given to you, you're on point, because a huge chunk really goes to data handling. Okay, in this video tutorial, we're going to be looking at question 3. Please make sure, guys, okay, that you try the questions on your own, right? You pay attention as I go through the solutions. Please make sure that you have definitely, okay, liked the video tutorial, because it really helps the channel grow and it helps the channel to reach more learners that want to better their mathematics marks, guys. And also please share the channel with your friends. Okay, so we're going to get started with today's video tutorial. Question 3.1 says the top coffee producing countries around the world produce coffee for 500 billion cups of coffee per year. And extra B shows the top coffee producing countries and how many 60 kg bags of coffee they produced in 2020. Okay, we are asked to study an extra B and answer the questions that follow. Okay, so let's have a look at an extra B. Okay, and with an extra B, guys, we can see that, okay, it says top coffee producing countries from around the world. With about 500 billion cups consumed per year, coffee is the world's second most traded commodity. Okay, so people really love their coffee, guys, like me. Okay, here are the top coffee producing countries and how many 60 kg bags of coffee they produced in 2020. Okay, so we are given the top coffee producing countries. Here we can see it's Brazil, it's Indonesia, it's Peru, it's India, it's Colombia, it's Vietnam, it's Uganda, it's Ethiopia, Honduras, it's Mexico, and we're also given the rest of the world. So we can actually see that, I mean, this, graph, this diagram resembles a pie chart. Okay, it looks like a pie chart. Okay, and we're going to be using this to help us answer the questions that are given to us. Okay, so we are told that the top 5 coffee producing nations are Brazil, Vietnam, Colombia, Indonesia, and Ethiopia accounts for 75% of the world's total coffee production. Okay, then we're also just given where they've obtained this diagram or this graph from. Okay, so let's have a look at question 3.1.1. It says, determine the range of the top coffee producing countries from around the world, including the rest of the world. So this is very important. First thing, we want to determine the range. Okay, how do we determine the range? Range is equal to the maximum value minus the minimum value, and we ask that now we need to include the rest of the world, okay, when we're looking for your maximum minimum value. Okay, so now let's see, what is the maximum value, what is the minimum value from this given pie chart. Okay, so let's see the maximum value, guys. You can see that Brazil produces the most coffee. Okay, so that's our maximum. Okay, so we're going to take 63.4. Okay, and we're gonna minus what is the minimum value. The minimum value we can just see from here, that is 3.8 million. Okay, so we're gonna take 63.4 minus 3.8 million, and we are going to get the range of the top coffee producing countries from around the world. Okay, so the range, guys, right, is 59.6 million. Okay, next question 3.1.2. Determine the median of the top coffee producing countries from around the world. Okay, so already here, guys, you should basically take note of this. Now, we saw that in question 3.1.1, they said that we must include the rest of the world. In question 3.1.2, we are not told to include the rest of the world. That means that now when we want to now determine the median and we are arranging our data in ascending order, we are not going to include the value for the rest of the world. Okay, so we are just going to be using these values here, right? And we are going to exclude that 18.4 million. Okay, so we're going to quickly just arrange this data in ascending order, because we know, guys, when we want to determine the median, our data needs to be in ascending order, and then we'll basically take it from there. Okay, so let's arrange the data in ascending order from the smallest value to the biggest value. Okay, so we've arranged this data in ascending order. Is 3.8, 4.0, 5.6, 5.7, 6.1, 7.3, 12.0, 14.3, 29.0, and 63.4 as our maximum value. Remember, guys, if we're trying to calculate the median, okay, we know that we can just use this formula, right? If we're dealing with your ungrouped data, you can deal with ungrouped data, which is individual data. You can just say Q2 is equal to n plus 1 divided by 2. So basically what this formula is going to give us, it's going to give us the position of our median value. Okay, so let's just quickly do that. Okay, what is the n? The n basically means how many data points or values do we have. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we're literally just going to take that 10 plus 1 divided by 2. So it's equal to 11 divided by 2. So that means that our median is in the 5.5 or 5.5 position. So what does this mean? It's basically telling us, okay, 5.5 is a number that is in between 5 as well as 6. Okay, so we need to basically find the 5th data point as well as the 6th data point. We're going to add those values together and we're going to divide that by 2, and that is going to give us the median. Okay, so we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 6. So our median is a number that's going to be in between those two values. We can also check to see if we've done the correct thing. Okay, we already know that. Okay, on the left hand side, we have to have an equal amount of values on the left hand side as well as on the right hand side. We can see that on the left hand side we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We can see that on the right hand side we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Therefore, we already know that definitely our median is a number that's going to be in between those values. Okay, therefore our Q2 is going to be equal to 6.1 million plus 7.3 million. Okay, divided by 2. If you punch this into your calculator, you will get 6.7 million. So that is the median, okay, amount of 60 kg bags that are sold, okay, by the top coffee producing countries. Okay, so that is our final answer there. Right, let's have a look at question 3.1.3. Okay, determine the interquartile range for the top coffee producing countries from around the world, including, do you see there? So when they want us to include the rest of the world, guys, they will basically state, because you can see there's a pattern going on. Okay, so even in your past papers, when you see that maybe you're not sure if you should include a particular value or not, just look at how the examiner is assessing. Okay, we can see that if they wanted us to include something, they tell us to include it. If they don't want us to include it, that means that they don't tell us to include it. Okay, so those are the things that you guys need to be aware of. It's a skill, okay, that you'll get as you keep practicing different past papers. Okay, you'll start to pick up these things. Okay, so how do we determine the interquartile range? Okay, guys, remember, when you're trying to determine the interquartile range, we are just trying to find the range for your quartiles. So what is the maximum for your quartile? What is the minimum for the quartile? Okay, so how do we calculate your interquartile range? All that we do to get your interquartile range, we simply just take your Q3 and you minus. So interquartile range is equal to Q3 minus your Q1. Okay, so now we need to be very careful. Okay, in this question, we are asked to include the rest of the world. So that basically means that we're not going to use the data that we've arranged in ascending order as is in question 3.2. We still need to add 80.4 to that data, okay, before we can move forward. Okay, so let's just quickly do that. Okay, we need to include that value that represents the rest of the world. Okay, because they were specific that we need to include the rest of the world. Okay, so let's just quickly arrange our data in ascending order again. So still, guys, it's still going to be the same thing. The only thing that's going to change now is that between 14.3 as well as 29.0, we are just going to put 18.4. All right, so we've basically arranged our data in ascending order, okay, taking into consideration that we need to include that 18.4. So how do we find Q1? How do we find Q3? Okay, still, guys, remember, there are those formulas that we use to help us determine the positions for your Q2, the position for your Q1, position for the Q3, okay? Or you can just simply count, because I mean the values aren't really that much, so we can just simply be more practical about it. We don't really have to use the formula, we can just count. So whatever you're comfortable with at this point, it's okay, because we're not really given a lot of data values that we need to work with. Okay, so we're going to start off by finding the median. Once we found the median, it will be easy for us to find Q1 and Q3. Okay, so here we are given 11 data values or data points. So we already know that this is an odd set, okay, of values. So if it's an odd set of values, we already know that our median is just going to be a single value, okay? And we can see, right, on the left hand side we've got 5 values, on the right hand side we've got 5 values. Therefore our median, our Q2, is just 7.3. okay, so now that we found our Q2, basically going to be easy for us to find Q3, and it will be easy for us to find Q1. Okay, let's start off with Q1. We can already see that. Okay, so from here now we need to basically determine our Q1. Okay, so we can see that on the right we've got 1 2 3 4 5 data points. On the left we've got on the left we've got 5 values. On the right we also have 5 values. That means that your Q1 and Q3 is also still just going to be one value. Okay, so what is that value? We can see that then that our Q1 is equal to 5.6 and our Q3 is equal to 18.4 million. Okay, so from there we can now find our interquartile range. Therefore our interquartile range is equal to, what is our Q3? 18.4 million minus, what is our Q1? 5.6 million. Okay, then if we punch that into a calculator, you'll see that then our interquartile range is 12.8 million. All right, cool stuff. Let's have a look at the next question. Question 3.1.4. It says, which two countries represent the bottom 25% of the top coffee producing countries from around the world, and explain what this means. Okay, so the best way that will basically help us understand how you need to answer this question, right? Remember, guys, when we had a look at your box and whisker diagram, we did mention that your box and whisker diagram is divided into 4 equal parts, right? And okay, each part represents 25% of the data that is given. Okay, so in this case, if this is my box and whisker diagram, okay, this is my box and whisker diagram, we already know that on your box and whisker diagram we display your 5 number summary. We already know that each section from the minimum to Q1, that is 25%. From Q1 to Q2, that is another 25%. From Q2 to Q3, that is another 25%. From Q3 to the maximum, that is another 25%, right? So now, looking at the question, this is the lower part, okay, of our 25%, okay? So this is the lower quartile. So it's the bottom part of the 25%. This is the upper part of our 25% from Q3 to your maximum value, right? So now to answer this question, right, for us to be able to determine which country would represent the bottom 25%, okay, we would have to then first, what was the Q1 that we've calculated? Okay, we saw that the Q1 right there was basically equal to 5.6 million. Okay, so Q1, 25% of the top coffee producing countries only produce 5.6 million of coffee, right? So now if you want to determine the bottom 25%, we want to get countries that produce coffee that is less than that 5.6 million. Okay, so those would be the countries that represent the bottom 25%. Okay, I hope I didn't lose anyone. Okay, for us to basically answer this question, right, we already know that our box and whisker diagram is divided into 4 equal parts. Okay, each part it basically represents 25% of our data. Okay, from minimum to Q1 is 25%, from Q1 to Q2 is 25%, and so on and so forth. This part, okay, of our box and whisker diagram is just the lower or the bottom 25%. Okay, we've already calculated what our Q1 was. Okay, we found that Q1 is equal to 5.6 million. What does that mean? It basically means that 25% of the top coffee producing countries only produce 5.6 million 60 kgs of bags of coffee. Okay, so in this case, for us to be able to determine what is that bottom 25%, we just need to find what are the countries that produce less than that 5.6, and then we're just going to write them down. Okay, so the countries that produce less than 5.6 million, what are those countries? It is Peru. Okay, it is Mexico, and I think that is that. Okay, so it is Peru as well as Mexico. Right, let's have a look at question 3.1.5. What type of graph is used to show the top coffee producing countries from around the world? So remember guys, when we started this lesson, I did mention that, this graph resembles a pie chart. So I forgot to actually explain what this means. Okay, this basically means, I already said this, right? This means that these countries produce the least amount of coffee from the top producing countries around the world. Okay, let's have a look at the next question. Question 3.5. What type of graph is used to show the top coffee producing countries from around the world? So guys, when I started this lesson, I did mention that this graph resembles a pie chart. Okay, so we can basically just say that this is a pie chart. Okay, a pie chart is used to show the top coffee producing countries from around the world. Question 3.1.6 says, show with calculations that the top 5 coffee producing countries produce an average of at least 75% of the world's coffee. Okay, so in this question, guys, you need to be careful. They're just you're basically required to calculate what is the percentage, right, of coffee that is produced by the top 5 coffee producing countries, okay, to the rest of the world. Okay, so how do we do this calculation, right? We are first going to determine what are the top 5 coffee producing countries, and from there we're going to add them all up. Then we're going to find the total, okay, amount of coffee that is produced by all of the countries. Okay, because remember the key word here is saying the world's coffee. So we also, in this question, we need to also include the rest of the world. So we're gonna take the top 5 countries, add them together, and we're going to divide it by the total sum of all all the values of coffee, or the quantity of coffee that is produced by all of the countries as well as the rest of the world, and we're going to multiply by 100 because we are trying to determine the percentage. Okay, so you'll see here, right, I've already written the top 5 coffee producing countries. Okay, we've got Brazil as number 1, Vietnam as number 2, Colombia is number 3, Indonesia is number 4, Ethiopia is number 5. Guys, we cannot put the rest of the world as number 3 because we've got a lot of countries that are mixed in there. Okay, so that is just, it's not one country as a whole. So we cannot include the rest of the world and look at it as it's one country. So that is why it's not included there as the top 5. So we're going to take these values and we're going to sum it up, right? And we're going to divide it by, okay, the sum of all of these values. So we're going to add 12, okay, plus 3.8 plus 5.7 plus 14.3. We're going to add up all these values together, okay, and then we're going to multiply by 100 to get the percentage. Okay, so let's just quickly do that. Okay, so we're basically trying to determine what is the percentage of the top five coffee producing countries to the total coffee that is produced by the world. Okay, so we're going to add up the values that I showed you. We're going to take that 63.4 plus the 29 plus 14.3 plus 12.0 plus 7.3. Okay, and you're going to divide this by the total. So what is the total? So if you add up all those values together, you'll see that your total is 169.6. Okay, multiplied by, I'm just going to move myself there, by 100 because we're trying to determine what is the percentage. Okay, so you'll see, guys, if you punch this into your calculator, you should get 74.29245283, right, percent. And if you round this off to 2 decimal, let me just see what the question is saying. They wanted us to prove if it's 74%. You can see, guys, that is just 74%. So be careful here, guys. They're not asking for the average. Okay, whereas you're just adding all the values together, okay, and you're dividing by the total values that you have. No, okay, they just want what is the percentage of coffee that is produced by the top 5 coffee producing countries when you compare them to, you know, the rest of the world. Okay, so that's what we're supposed to do in this question. Okay, let's have a look at question 3.7. Determine the probability of randomly selecting a country from the top coffee producing countries from around the world. We need to exclude the rest of the world here that produce more than 20 million 60 kg bags of coffee in 2022. We need to write down your final answer as a percentage. Okay, guys, remember, when we're calculating probability, we already know this by now. Okay, it is favorable outcomes divided by a total outcome. So question 3.1.7, probability, okay, favorable outcomes divided by total outcomes. Okay, so the favorable outcomes, guys, remember, okay, we want it as a percentage, so we're going to multiply by 100. Remember, guys, favorable outcomes are the outcomes that we want. Okay, so in this case, we are told that what we want, okay, we want to find the countries that produce more than 20 million 60 kg bags of coffee, and we're going to exclude the rest of the world. Okay, so now we're going to count all the countries, right, that produce more than 20 million, and we are not going to include the rest of the world. So we're just going to be looking at those values there. Okay, so what countries produce more than 20 million? It's 1, 2. Okay, so it's just going to be 2 over, what are the total outcomes? How many countries do we have? Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 countries. Okay, so it's 10 multiplied by 100 because they want it as a percentage, and you'll see there that you get 20%. All right, so we're done with question 3.1. Let's have a look at question 3.2. Okay. Question 3.2 says half a trillion cups of coffee are consumed per year throughout the world. Okay. European coffee drinkers consume most of the coffee produced, and Americans are second. So we are told that European coffee drinkers consume the most, and then you've got Americans that consume the second most. Okay, we need to refer to the graphic representation on an extra C, which displays the percentage intake of coffee over 24 hours. We are asked to use the information in an extra C and answer the questions that follow. So let's see what's happening in an extra C. Okay, we can see that in an extra C, guys, right, we are basically given a bar graph, right? And this bar graph is basically showing us the percentage of coffee intake over 24 hours, as well as, right, over 24 hours. On the y-axis, we've got the percentage coffee intake, and on the x-axis, we've got the times per day. Okay, then we're also given a scale there at the bottom, right? So the polka dots, right, if you were to just zoom this in, okay, you'll see that that basically represents the females. Okay, so that there just shows us the times per day females, the time per day, as well as the percentage of coffee intake that females took, and then that shape there represents male, and then that shape there is for. Okay, so we're going to be using this bar graph to help us answer the questions that are given to us. Okay, question 3.2.2, which of the following options, X, Y, or Z, best describes the data process that was performed before the representation could be drawn? Okay, so before they drew that bar graph, okay, what data process took place? Write down only the letter X, Y, or Z. Okay, did they summarize the data? Did they pose a question, or did they organize the data? Okay, so remember, guys, when you're summarizing data, we are usually just getting your measures of spread, measures of central tendency. It's not that after doing summarizing your data, okay, we're not going to drawing our bar graph, but after we've organized our data by using your frequency tables, and we know the frequency of how many females took coffee, then we can go on to what, drawing our graphs. Okay, so option Z best describes the data process that was performed before the bar graph was drawn. Okay, so it's organizing data, so it is Z. Okay, question 3.2.2, can the data collected be classified as numerical or categorical data? Okay, so guys, we can see here, right, that this data has been put in different categories. The categories are female, male, all. Okay, so therefore in this case, right, we can just say that this data can or is classified as categorical data. Okay. Okay, next question, question 3.2.2. If this data was collected using a questionnaire, okay, list 3 possible questions that could have been asked. So if we collected this data, remember, guys, okay, in the data collecting phases, right, first thing is, okay, you want to collect your data. How do you collect your data? You conduct your surveys or questionnaires, observations, right? Then we move on to the next phase, right, where we classify our data, then we organize our data. So here we just asked that if this data was collected using a questionnaire, what would be the possible questions, okay, that could have been asked? Remember, this graph basically represents the percentage intake of coffee over 24 hours. So now when we're thinking of these questions, we need to think of, questions that are along the lines of, okay, firstly, are you male or female? Do you drink coffee? Okay, because those are the questions that they most probably asked, okay, for them to determine which category, number one, does the person fall in? Okay, to be able to determine, do they drink coffee? What time of the day do you drink coffee? Do you see? So, what time of the day do you drink coffee? Are you male or female? Okay, and then do you drink coffee? Okay, or are you a coffee drinker? Okay, so those are the three questions that you could probably would have seen in this questionnaire. Okay, so those are the questions, right, that we could probably expect from this questionnaire. Are you male or female? What time of the day do you drink coffee? Are you a coffee drinker? Yes or no? Question 3.2.4. Describe the general trend of coffee intake for males in comparison to females over a 24-hour period. Okay, what was the general trend that we saw, okay, for males when we compare it to females over a 24-hour period? So let's see there. Okay, so if you look at the males, so this guys is the males there, right? Okay, what was the general trend that we noticed there? Okay, we can see that from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., males generally drink less coffee than females. Do you see that? From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., males generally drink less coffee, okay, than females, okay. Okay, so we can just say that. We can just say from 6 a.m. going all the way up to 6 p.m., males drink less coffee than females, or we can just say that we notice that from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., females drink more coffee than males. Okay, so any one of those explanations would be fine, because we're just trying to determine what is the trend for males. So I think for males in comparison to females, so we can just say from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., males generally drink less coffee than females. All right, so from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., males drink less coffee than females. Okay, then question 3.2.5, explain with justification whether the data presented is discrete or continuous. Okay, so if we basically have a look at the graph that is given to us, right, guys, we know when we're looking at discrete data, what is discrete data? Okay, when you're dealing with discrete data, guys, it is data that does not contain your fractions. Okay, so just a quick example, when you're counting people, right, counting numbers, that is discrete data. But continuous data, that is your values that can be written as a fraction. Okay, so we are basically thinking along the lines of, so obviously when thinking about whether this data is continuous or discrete, right, we just need to look at what was the purpose of basically doing this research, and it was to determine how many people drink coffee. Okay, so in that case, right, this is definitely discrete data, because discrete data, right, represents whole numbers, whole values. Okay, we can't have 1.5 people drinking coffee, so in this case it is definitely discrete data. Okay, last question 3.2.6. The data presented in the graph on Annexure C comes from one specialized coffee brand in America. The survey was done while the customers waited for their coffee. Okay, explain if this data is biased or valid for the whole world of coffee drinkers. Okay, number one, guys, we can already see that if we're told that this survey was done, okay, in a coffee shop, okay, so let's just see here. Okay, so it was done while customers waited for their coffee, okay, in one coffee shop. But now this survey is supposed to show the trend for all coffee drinkers in the world. Okay, so we can already see that, okay, this information, it is definitely not valid. It is biased. Okay, why are we saying it's biased? Number one, it cannot represent the whole world because it happened in a particular one coffee shop, right? And comes from one coffee brand in America. So how is that now representing the whole world? Okay, so we can't really say that now, the data that we've obtained from this survey is valid. Okay, it's not valid. It represents just one sample from a shop in America. Okay, it's not, different shops from America, China, Africa. So we can really see that now this data that is being represented here it's biased. Okay, it's not valid. It favors a particular side, right? So we cannot rely on that type of data. Okay, it is only a sample at one shop. Okay, in America, it does not represent the whole world. Okay, so I'm going to say it's biased. Okay, because it looked at one shop. Okay, in America and not the whole world. All right, guys, almost done. We've got the last question to do. Question number 3.3. It's for 4 marks. Okay, it says many people are moving to alternatives of animal-based dairy milk products for health reasons. I've tried this. I've tried almond milk, guys. I've tried to look for alternatives, but honestly speaking, they do not taste good. Okay, I've tried almond milk, trying to replace, the milk that comes from a cow, but I feel like, milk from a cow is still top tier, unfortunately. Okay, so I mean, for health reasons, but I feel like taste, it is very important. When doing so, the necessary good nutritional properties have to be considered. It needs to have a high concentration of protein, calcium, vitamin D, and fiber, low calories, and low sugar is the best choice. Okay, refer to Annex D, which shows the nutrient content of animal-based milk and plant-based milk substitutes, and answer the questions below. Draw up a comparison table of the plant-based milk products and determine which product will fulfill the need in providing the best source of maximum protein, calcium, vitamin D, vitamin A, and fiber, as well as the lowest amount of sugar and calories. Okay, so here, guys, we have to draw a comparison table. Okay, of the plant-based milk products. Okay, and we want to determine which products will from drawing this comparison table. After we've drawn this comparison table, we want to now determine what is or which product will fulfill the need in providing the best source of maximum protein, calcium, vitamin D, so on and so forth. Okay, so basically what I did, right, with this question, right, let's basically have a look at what's happening here. Right, we want to look at your plant-based products, okay, because that is what we're looking at. That is what we are asked to look at, right? And then we're going to look at here, right, in this question, right, from the plant-based products. Okay, we need to look for a product, right, that has a high concentration of protein. So it needs to have high protein, calcium, vitamin D and A, fiber. Okay, so now let's go to the table and look for high protein, calcium, vitamin D and A, fiber, okay, from these products that are plant-based. Okay, so we're going to just focus on the plant-based products, and then we're going to look for high values for protein. So we can see here, right, if you look at your soy milk, okay, for protein, the soy milk gives us the highest value. Okay, now let's go to calcium. Which value gives us the highest value? It's 499. So the hemp milk fortified gives us the highest value for calcium. Now let's go to vitamin D. Which one gives us the highest value of vitamin D? We can see that it's soy milk. Okay, then let's go to A, right? Which milk product, gives us the highest value of vitamin A? So we can see that it's hemp, it is almond milk, it is coconut milk. Oh, sorry guys, I made a mistake. Okay, it is just soy milk. That one gives us the highest value of vitamin A. Then we go to fiber. Okay, highest value for fiber. So we can see it's almond, it's hemp, it's soy, right? Then let's go to sugar. We want the lowest sugar and the lowest calories. So we're going to find the lowest for sugar. It's soy, it is hemp. The lowest for sugar, it is almond, and it is coconut milk. All right, there's almond. No, it's just almond. Sorry guys, it's just almond. Okay, so the lowest calorie, it's just almond. Okay, so from here, right, we want to now see which, by obviously drawing a comparison table, which one will basically give us, so which product is it soy, is it hemp, is it almond milk? Okay, which product will give us high protein, high calcium, high vitamin D, high vitamin A, high fiber, low sugar, right? So which product is popping up the most? Okay, so let's just draw the comparison table. Okay, so we're going to look for now from these products, right? Which products gave us the highest protein? Okay, so the products that gave us the highest protein, it was soy milk. Okay, the second highest was hemp. Because if they're asking for a comparison table, guys, right, they basically, we can't just take one value. We need to just take two values from each column and then we compare that to each other. So the highest for your protein, we need to take two from protein, right? So it's going to be soy and hemp. Okay, the highest for calcium. Okay, we can see that the highest, right, is hemp. Then what's the second highest? It's almond, it's coconut, right? Almond and coconut. Then we go to vitamin D. What's the highest, right? It's it's soy milk. What is the second highest? It's hemp, it's almond, it's coconut, it's rice milk. Then for vitamin A, what's the highest, right? It's 543. What is the second highest, right? It's the hemp, it is the almond, it is the coconut. So the key here, if you're drawing a comparison table, when you're getting the highest value from each column, you just want to get two values of each so that you can compare and then make a final deduction. Okay, for fiber, the highest, right, is soy, hemp, almond. Okay, for sugar, right, we already have two, so it's soy milk and hemp. Okay, for calories, okay, the lowest, we got that it was almond milk. What is the second lowest? Okay, we can take your hemp. Okay, so now from here, we're going to put these values. For protein, we got soy milk and hemp. For calcium, we're going to write hemp, we're going to write almond and coconut. We're going to write all these values down. For vitamin D, we got soy milk, we got hemp, we got almond, we got coconut, we got rice. For vitamin A, we got soy, we got hemp, we got almond, we got coconut, right? For fiber, it was soy, it was hemp, it was, and then we want to find a value that is appearing the most, and that is the best alternative when it comes to plant-based milk products. Okay, so let's just quickly do that. Okay, so for high protein, we said it was soy milk as well as hemp. Okay, for calcium, we said it was hemp, it was almond, it was coconut. For vitamin D, right, we said it was soy, it was hemp, it was almond, it was coconut, it was rice. Vitamin A, it was soy, it was hemp, it was almond, it was coconut. Fiber, it was soy, it was hemp, it was almond. Low sugar, it was soy, it was hemp. Low calories, it was almond, it was hemp. Then from here, guys, we're trying to find what is the value that keeps appearing the most. Do you see? In every single row, hemp is appearing. Therefore, we can conclude, right, the product that will basically provide the best source of maximum protein, calcium, vitamin D, vitamin A, fiber, as well as the lowest amount of sugar will be hemp. Okay, so the trick here, right, when obviously having to draw your comparison table, okay, first start off by noticing that if they want a comparison table, when you're choosing these values, it needs to be in each column 2, 2, 2, 2, so that you can compare them from each other. Okay, so once you've already determined, highest for protein, for calcium, you're right there. Okay, high protein is this, high calcium is this. And then from there, we want to determine the product that appears the most. Okay, so yeah, this tutorial, guys, was jam-packed. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm a bit tired now, right? Okay, in the next video tutorial, guys, we are going to be looking at question number 4. And question number 4, guys, finally, it deals with taxation. So even with the 2023 paper, guys, right, you also have taxation. You also have data handling. there is a pattern happening with these past papers. Okay, so please make sure that you prepare well and you look at these past papers to help you prepare for your prelims. Okay, it is really, really going to help. So I'll see you guys on my next upload.
That is it, guys, and I'll see you guys on my next upload, Distance Learning with Lee, where I make learning mathematics super easy. Bye, guys.